What's up, everybody, and welcome back. In the last video, we set up Pocketbase. We got it running locally. If you missed that or need to check it out, I'll have a link in the description below. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a React app, and we're going to use context in order to authenticate to our new Pocketbase server. So let's go ahead and create that React app to get started. We're going to do npm create v pocket react. Just do JavaScript for this project. So let's get in here. And we'll add the Pocketbase npm package. So now that we have the React app created and we're in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. I usually delete anything that is pre-generated because there's no need for it. So the only thing I'm going to keep is I'm going to keep the main.jsx and the app.jsx. And then what I'll do is I'll create a new folder, context, and inside this context, I'm going to create my pocket context.jsx. And this is where we're going to build the context to interact with Pocketbase. So to get started setting up this context, the first thing I want to do is I want to import all my imports from React. So we're going to use useEffect, useState, create context, useMemo, useCallback, and useContext. And we're also going to import Pocketbase. This way we can utilize that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set a base URL. Usually you would set this in environment variables, but for now we're just going to set it up here. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our context, so pocket context, and we're just going to create that context. And then we need to set up a pocket provider. And inside here, we're going to set our Pocketbase instance. So we're going to use memo. And we're going to set a new instance of Pocketbase using that base URL. And if you're not familiar with useMemo, we use that in order to optimize this component because it eliminates repeating the instantiation over and over again. And now we'll set our user state. And we're going to set that equal to use state. And it's going to be pb.authstore.model. And this is going to be the user. We'll set up a useEffect. And this useEffect is going to listen for any changes to the auth store. And let's get our actions all set up. So we're going to have a register action, which we're going to use a callback. We're going to pass in the email and password. And we're going to await the Pocketbase. We want to access the collection of users. And we're going to create a user using email, password, and then the password confirm is just going to be the password again. We'll have a login function. Is going to be very similar. We're going to use callback. We're going to async and pass in the email and password. And we're going to access that same collection of users. And then we're going to auth with password. And we're going to pass in that email and password. And then last but not least, we're going to put in the logout. And for this one, we're just going to pb.authstore.clear to remove any instance of the login. And now that we have all those defined, let's return our pocket context. Our pocket context provider with the values that we defined. So we have register, login, logout, user, and PB. And then we want to pass in the children. And we'll export our usePocket function. And this is a very basic setup for your context for Pocket Provider to authenticate a user. So what we'll do is, now that we have that all set up, let's go into the app.js. We're going to delete all of the boilerplate code. And what we'll do is we'll create a new folder. We're going to have a couple of components. So let's have a components folder. And inside the components folder, we'll create a require auth component, a logged in component, a logged out component. So the first component we're going to set up is the required auth component, or require auth component. Essentially what we're going to do in this component is we're going to decide which view to display in the app based on if the user is logged in or logged out. You could either do it the way I'm going to do it, or if you wanted to set up routes, you could use React Router and protect your routes and things like that. We could go over that in a later video. Just let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that. But what we'll do for now is we're going to import the pocket. We're going to import the use pocket hook from the context. And we're going to also import logged in from logged in. We're going to import logged out from logged. So what this component's going to do is we're going to export const require auth. We are going to grab the user from use pocket, and we're going to use this user to determine which view to show. So if we return user, so if we have a user, we want to show logged in, and if we don't have a user, we want to show logged out. So let's just set up a very simple logged in component. So use pocket. And what we'll do in here is we'll default export a function of logged in. We want to grab the logout function from use pocket. And we'll return a div that says logged in, and then we'll have a button with an on click that we're going to grab the event, we're going to prevent the default, and then we're going to log out so that we could clear that user. And I went ahead and set up the logged out component. Instead of forcing you to watch me type it out, I just set it up, so we'll walk through it very quickly. Basically, you're going to use state for your email and password. You're going to grab register and login from the Pocket context. We set up a very simple form. Basically, the form is going to have an input for your email and an input for your password. And I did combine the two into one component, the register form and the login form. So basically you're going to have two buttons. Basically, if you don't have an account, you could hit sign up. And if you do have an account, you can hit sign in. And inside of those, I have the on click. And what we do is we prevent the default. We register the user using that action from the context. We then log in the user using those same credentials. This way it logs you right in on your register. That's when you hit the sign up button. And for the sign in button, we just log the user in using that login action. I also did notice that I had an error when I created the base URL. I missed these two slashes. If you don't have your base URL set up correctly, Vite will just attach this 127 right to whatever URL you're making the request from. So it will fail. So just make sure you do that. And then in the app.js, we pulled in the required auth component to basically show the view, and we pulled in the Pocket provider. We wrapped the required auth inside of that provider. This way we can access all that context. Now, a more common way to do this would be to use React Router. You can set up your routes and protect your routes. If you'd like me to make a video on that, just let me know in the comments below. I can modify this application to make it more usable. But the whole reason I wanted to make this video was just to show you how quickly and easily you can set up context in order to authenticate using Pocketbase. So once you have that all set up, if we head back over into our React app, as you can see, we have just a very basic form. So if I go ahead and sign up using just my email and a password, and I hit sign up, you can see it logs us in. It creates the user and puts it into the user's record, and then it will authorize us with our password. So now if we log out, we could try again. And if we hit sign in, it logs us right in. Now, like I said, this is a very basic application. It has no error handling. It really doesn't do very much. The whole reason I wanted to do this video is just to show you how easy it is to set up the context for Pocketbase and get Auth working with it. If you have any questions, definitely let me know in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you're notified when I post a new video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.